All right, I don't know whether I should call this politics as we view it. Perhaps no. But, when the world is united towards a certain course, it's important that as well you join in the momentum, especially when it's a noble course like the one that I'm about to speak of. My name is Linda Lela. Karibu sana to my channel. It's always good having you. What have you done in this 16 days of activism? We are right into it, and across the world, everybody else is talking about gender-based violence. And I want us to begin from a point where we must acknowledge that when we're talking about gender-based violence, we're not talking about women, we are talking about every other gender. You want to ask yourself, every other gender, what does that mean? It means we're talking about women, it means we're talking about men, and the other special genders. And I call them special because still the world and different countries are at a space where they're, in that push and pull moment of just getting to understand what this is all about. The intersex persons and many other groups that have felt marginalized for a long time. This is the time that, the global fraternity, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, all these important organizations are committed towards addressing gender-based violence. I have done my level best to advocate for this. I have done my level best, to speak about it. I have done my level best, and I feel like there's still more to do. To just say that we must live in a world that is free for everybody, that we must, move freely, knowing that, as a woman, you're safe, that you're not supposed to be victimized just because you are a woman. We must live in a world where we are so keen about the concerns of mental health, because many say that these are some of the reasons why we have very many women being killed, we have very many men being killed, because then the perpetrators will perhaps be going through some concern or some problem, mentally. And if this is not arrested or addressed early, then you find that they get to levels of conducting such heinous acts as killing. I'm just looking at statistics left, right, and center. The United Nations Women's Statistics on femicide, the United Nations, statistics on gender-based violence, basically, the statistics of the anti-FGM board of Kenya in relation to the cases of FGM, yani the CART in the country. And just globally, we have statistics left, right, and center. And when you look at the statistics, it is worrying. It is worrying to see that we still have numbers of gender-based violence concerns shooting up as opposed to going down, yet there is so much energy that has been put to addressing this. What are we doing wrong? Where are we not getting it right? Are we having these conversations in a rather wrong way? Do we need to go back to the drawing board? Do we say that we locally address some of these concerns, that, every country has its own way, locally mechanized ways of dealing with gender-based violence? The female genital mutilation, for instance, is something that has been going on in different communities for quite a long time, especially the sub-Saharan Africa. And, the world has committed towards saying no to FGM, breaking the blade. And every year, all around, we have organizations dishing out money, finances, released in lump sums, donations for us to end the CART. Yes, we still have people who are deeply rooted in this culture, in these traditions of, conducting the CART to their girls. And when you look at the processes, I took time to just get to understand what goes into these processes. And while they are different, there's some of them you just don't even want to hear.
4 women seized me, they slammed me to the ground, they yanked off my pants and my underwear, took a knife and cut deep into my vagina. It was the worst pain I had never felt in my life. I couldn't stop crying.
And now even the torture and torment that they have to go through, thereafter. One of them was telling me, and I don't know whether this is watershed, but some of these things we must speak about, of how they no longer, or probably they have never even enjoyed the act, because you know what? They don't know what it feels like. It's just torture for them. They are not excited about the whole thing, and how they have had to lose 3 marriages, because then every man that comes to them is like, oh, this lady is not as excited, so there's really not that excitement of the act. And I know this is the fruit of marriage, and therefore they just decide that maybe there's no point of having her. Then she goes to another one, it's the same story. She goes to another marriage, it's the same story. And so they just paint the ugly picture of this entire process of FGM, all the way, and how they wish that their children would not go through that, and how they wish that the society could understand the pain that comes with that, how they wish that our men could understand just how painful an experience it is, and that it probably doesn't do much in terms of just changing that girl, perhaps just making them pathetic and worse. And perhaps join in the momentum to say, you know what, we are not going to allow for our girls to go through the cut. The femicide cases in the country, homicide, I call it murder outright. There's no better way to call this. That you close your eyes and the next morning the statistics are growing and growing and growing. That you used to know Seth, for instance, who lost her life just the other day, may her soul rest in peace. And then the next day, with all that beauty, with all that brilliance, you're told that she's no more. That she disappeared for some 2-3 days. And then the next thing, the reports that are coming out is that she was murdered in cold blood. And you can't wrap your mind around all these unfortunate things that are happening. That you used to know Odhiambo, for instance, who was a friend of yours, was a colleague, is your brother, is Sehu, is your brother-in-law. And the next thing you hear that, Odhiambo is not there. Have you seen Odhiambo? And everyone is looking for them. And before you know it, these reports are out that they have been raped, sodomized, they have been killed. And when you try to trail and get to understand why this has happened, you really can't get to it. Some will say it's drugs. Some will say that, it's just the chase for money. Everybody loves money. I mean, this talk is lazy of, women love money. They need to be talked to and told, no, you know what, you shouldn't love money to that level where you give yourself to a man whom you don't even know and then you're going to lose your life. That should not be a justification whatsoever. We should not go out there to condemn these persons that have lost their lives or perhaps have undergone some mistreatment, violence at that level of the home. Nothing whatsoever justifies these heinous acts. So we just need to go back to the drawing board as society and ask ourselves, is it our morals? Is it really the concern of mental health? And if it is so, what do we need to do so that we can address this, so that we all make the world a safe space for people, for everybody, for every man, for a woman? I speak to those persons that are intersex as well, and sometimes they share their experiences, stigma in society. Some of them are in different spaces of work, and they say they find it very difficult to survive, to manage, because the world will always view them with different lenses or in different lenses, and they are discriminated upon. They can't just come out to say that this is who I am, hii ni jinsia yangu, and it should be appreciated as should be. Anywho, I'm not here to lecture us. I'm not here to remind us of what we already know. I am here to say that during this 16 days, and even after, it is important that we come together as society and we put our effort to indeed win this fight. We appreciate that we have made strides. but we also acknowledge the fact that we still have a long way to go. But in all that, we must preserve life. In all that, we must love ourselves so much so to say that I can't kill the next person, to say that I cannot make them go through an experience that is going to draw down their elements and the privilege as well as the glory of humanity. We must say no. Get your orange ribbon and say no to GBV. You know, speak to the kids, teach them just how they need to cohabit and coexist without having to risk the life of the other person. Because you know what? This world is so beautiful if we're going to make it peaceful for the next party and the next one and the next one, because in turn, they're going to make it beautiful and accommodative for you. My name is Linda Alela. Make sure that you keep it right here.